of my choice, beneath my sorrows lives in peace.
This week, we arrive at one of the most well-known saints in the Church, Saint Thérèse of Lisieux. Little Thérèse is one of the greatest saints in our Sacred Heart Parade. At only 15 years of age, Thérèse spoke of Jesus as the one whose heart beats in unison with my own. At 17, she wrote, "I myself do not see the Sacred Heart as everyone else. I think that the heart of my spouse is mine alone, just as mine is his alone, and I speak to him in the solitude of this delightful heart-to-heart, while waiting to contemplate him one day, face to face." These statements are pretty amazing coming from a teenager. Pope Francis tells us that for Thérèse, devotion to the heart of Christ had to do more with friendship and assurance than with trust in the value of her sacrifices. Several months before her death, she wrote, "Ever since I have been given the grace to understand the love of the heart of Jesus, I admit that it has expelled all fear from my heart. The remembrance of my faults humbles me, draws me never to depend on my strength, which is only weakness. But this remembrance speaks to me of mercy and love even more." To her sister Marie, also a Carmelite, who praised her generous love of God, Thérèse responded at length in a letter that Pope Francis said ought to be read 1,000 times over for its depth, clarity, and beauty. There, Thérèse helps her sister, Marie of the Sacred Heart, to avoid focusing this devotion on suffering, since some had presented reparation primarily in terms of accumulating sacrifices and good works. Thérèse, for her part, presents confidence as the greatest and best offering pleasing to the heart of Christ. "My desires of martyrdom are nothing. They are not what give me the unlimited confidence that I feel in my heart. They are, to tell the truth, the spiritual riches that render one unjust when one rests in them with complacence and one believes that they are something great. What pleases Jesus is that he sees me loving my littleness and my poverty, the blind hope that I have in his mercy. That is my only treasure. If you want to feel joy, to have an attraction for suffering, it is your consolation that you are seeking. Understand that to be his victim of love, the weaker one is, without desires or virtues, the more suited one is for the workings of this consuming and transforming love. Oh, how I would like to be able to make you understand what I feel. It is confidence, and nothing but confidence, that must lead us to love." In a letter to a priest friend, Thérèse wrote, "My way is all confidence in love. I do not understand souls who fear a friend so tender. At times, when I'm reading certain spiritual treatises in which perfection is shown through 1,000 obstacles, surrounded by a crowd of illusions, my poor little mind quickly tires. I close the learned book that is breaking on my head and drying up my heart, and I take up Holy Scripture. Then all seems luminous to me. A single word uncovers for my soul infinite horizons. Perfection seems simple to me. I see that it is sufficient to recognize one's nothingness and to abandon oneself like a child into God's arms." Obviously, there's so much that we could say about Saint Thérèse of Lisieux, but I think Pope Francis did a great job of capturing the essence of her spirituality through the few samples of her writing included in his encyclical. Since Pope Francis pointed out the passage he quoted from St. Thérèse's letter to Marie of the Sacred Heart as something that should be read 1,000 times over, I invite you to take it up in prayer this week. I've included it in the email for this week's video.